Hi, I'm Linda, the host. Welcome to Diabetes Solution, the place to learn the confidence and the knowledge about how food can improve your diabetes with more energy, less weight, and so much more. Today we have Chef AJ. Chef AJ is a 40 years or more chef that deals with whole plant food dieting. Chef AJ has a daily broadcast called Chef AJ Live. Chef AJ, you're known for bestseller books. And there are two books that I really like. One is Own Your Health, and the other one is The Secret to Ultimate Weight Loss. Weight loss is a big component of the person who has diabetes and want to lose weight. But first, before we talk about that, Chef AJ, can you share your journey and story about how food can help, how it has helped you over the years?
Absolutely. Well, I didn't know this, Linda, until I was 43 years old, that food has a tremendous power to either hinder or heal. And when I was 43 years old, I had already been vegan for 26 years. Yet I was obese. I weighed almost 200 pounds. And one day I woke up, and remember, it was January 1st, 2003. So I was almost 43 years old, and I was bleeding. And it turned out that I had what they call edematous polyps in my sigmoid colon. They were riddled with these polyps. And these are the kind of polyps, they actually used the word pre-cancer. They said, if we do not remove these, you will definitely get colon cancer. And that was a wake-up call, because my grandmother had died of colon cancer, my mom of a bowel obstruction, my uncle had just had like 90% of his colon removed. So we had a very strong family history of colon cancer. And I'm like, but I've been vegan for 26 years. How the heck could this happen? Well, being vegan is a wonderful thing for many reasons, the animals, the environment, but there are ways to be vegan in very, very unhealthy ways, which is what I did. I was a junk food vegan, which is why I was obese. But until I went to a place called the Optimum Health Institute near San Diego, California, I did not realize that it was the food. That yes, you can have a strong family history, genetics can load the gun, but it's really your diet and lifestyle that pulls the trigger. And so even though I wasn't eating animal products, I also wasn't eating anything health promoting. I wasn't eating any fruit. I wasn't eating any vegetables. I was just eating junk food, which you can easily do as a vegan, because French fries, cotton candy, soda's vegan. I was starting every day with a Coke Slurpee with 8 pumps of vanilla syrup and having a Dr. Pepper Big Gulp for lunch. So vegan can be very healthy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. But until I was 43, no one, let alone a physician, ever said that what you eat matters. And it really does, because food can be medicine, but it can also be poison. And when I went to this place called the Optimum Health Institute, the educators there, they were doctors and nurses, and they said it really does matter, because even though I wasn't eating animal products, everything I ate was inflammatory, was acidic. It was creating ill health in my body, mainly because I wasn't eating any fiber, and fiber is like the most important thing we can eat. I just finished hosting my own summit based on GI health, and fiber is practically magical in what it can do to the human body. Well, to all bodies. It flushes out toxins, it binds to cholesterol and waste material, but you can't really digest it. It has no calories, and it's important for your microbiome, for your health. I wasn't eating any fiber, and there's no fiber in animal products. There's no fiber in processed food. That's all I was eating. Is it any wonder that I developed these polyps? But then once I started eating fruits and vegetables, the things that contain a lot of fiber, a lot of water, a lot of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, I was able to reverse the disease. And it was about 6 months I went back and had a repeat colonoscopy. It was the same GI doctor. And he said, where did you have surgery? I said, well, I didn't have surgery. He said, well, your colon is clear, clean, pink, and vascular like a newborn baby. And I have photos of every single polyp and where they are, and they're gone. And I'm like, well, I changed my diet. He goes, oh, that's impossible. And when he left the room, the other GI doctor that was assisting, who I think was from India, said, I believe you. So food is medicine. Food is powerful. It can also be poison if you eat the wrong food. So yeah, I didn't learn any of this until I was 43 years old, which was 17 years ago.
Wow. Now, see, that's awesome. You talk about fiber, and one of the major components that helps blood sugars to go up slower is fiber. And so when you really talked about fiber, I was like, all thumbs up. The fiber is so important, because when blood sugars go up slower, it allows the body to help bring the blood sugars back down. So that major component of having fiber, and we know the foods that have more fiber. Excellent. Diabetes solution, it means different to everybody. But when I think about the weight loss and the component of helping the person who has diabetes improve their health. How does the work you do with the weight loss?
Yeah.
I know you've had folks who've had diabetes
Oh, absolutely.
over the years. Can you
They
share?
had it and they no longer have it, because basically we're giving them the diet they were meant to eat, that human beings evolved on, which is a largely, in my case, it's plant exclusive, but predominantly plant-based diet, so that everything they're eating or almost everything they're eating has that fiber. And the thing is people have to understand, you don't want to take fiber supplements. One of the things I learned from one of the many doctors I interviewed is you can't just take a fiber supplement and eat McDonald's. That is not how you get healthy. It doesn't work that way, because your microbiome doesn't want the supplements. It wants the food, right? And so by eating food it's really interesting, because really what I teach at the end of the day for weight loss is something that I learned from a doctor at Penn State University named Dr. Barbara Rolls, who wrote a series of best-selling books called Volumetrics. And she has a laboratory where she studies human eating behavior. And what she talks about is a concept known as energy density. It's also known as calorie density. And when people hear that term, they go, oh, counting calories, you already do that. No, when you understand calorie density, it's not about counting calories or carbs or points or weighing and measuring your food or knowing how many calories in a half a cup of rice or a cup of blueberries. What people need to understand is that this concept of calorie density, it simply means calories per pound of food. And the reason that's important is because Dr. Rolls discovered that human beings eat about the same amount of food per day by weight. And that is about 3 to 5 pounds of food. This sounds like a lot. It really isn't when you really understand this, because our stomachs are about the size of a cantaloupe. They hold about a liter of food, about 4.22 cups. And for most people, adults that is, we need to eat this much food to feel full and satisfied. What most people do when they go on a diet is they eat less food. And it always backfires, because you need a certain amount of food to activate what's known as your mechanisms of satiety, your stretch receptors, your nutrient receptors, and your calorie receptors. So you can get away with eating small portions of anything for a while and probably lose weight, but you probably won't keep it off, because trying to eat less food is like trying to take less breaths. You can't do that. But when you understand what Dr. Rolls teaches, this concept of calorie density, you not only can eat the same amount of food and still lose weight, but perhaps even more. That's where Dr. Dean Ornish got the idea for the title of his book, Eat More, Weigh Less, because plants have a far lower calorie density than either animal products or processed food. And so what people need to understand is that this notion of calories per pound, well, food varies in caloric density 40-fold. There's a 40-fold difference. And that can be significant for somebody wanting to lose weight. So for example, vegetables, meaning non-starchy vegetables like greens, not things like potatoes, corn, and peas, but non-starchy vegetables have only 100 calories a pound. Things like zucchini is about 67 calories a pound. It's impossible to overeat vegetables because they're mostly water anyway, and fiber and nutrients. Well, most Americans eat very little vegetables. It's something like 92% of our calories from animal products and processed food, less than 10% from fruits and vegetables. But vegetables have only 100 calories a pound. I mean, 1 tablespoon of olive oil has more calories than 2 pounds of zucchini. Oil, which is the biggest triumph of marketing over science, which is definitely not good for diabetes, because people think diabetes is caused by sugar. It's not. It's caused by fat. Well, oil, whether it's olive oil, first pressed extra virgin, or coconut oil is 4,000 calories a pound, 40-fold different. And oil, I'm not saying people shouldn't eat fat, but they should eat their food unprocessed in its whole food form. If you're going to eat fat, nuts, seeds, avocado. But oil, it's ridiculous, because all it is hypercaloric malnutrition. It has no fiber, so you cannot feel full. It has no nutrients, so you're not going to activate those nutrient receptors. All it is pure liquid fat. And a clue as to what you should be eating is whether or not it exists in nature. There is no oil in nature. There's nuts, seeds, and avocado. There's no oil trees or oil ponds. There's no peanut butter lakes out there. There is some whole food fats, but these nuts came in a very hard shell, and the avocados, they were seasonal. But if people just stopped these processed oils, that could make a huge difference in their weight and their health. And we've done so many experiments. Like I remember when I stopped eating oil. I don't eat oil, sugar, or salt. I don't eat any processed food. But when I heard from Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn, the author of Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, he's a doctor at the Cleveland Clinic that has reversed even end-stage heart disease in his patients with a whole food plant-based diet with no added oil. Mm-hmm. I stopped oil probably 13 years ago. Wow. And so I'm the one that makes the food in my family. So I just stopped using it. It's really not hard. I mean, because food actually tastes better when your taste buds aren't being coated with this liquid that requires you to use a lot more salt. And there's substitutions, baking. You can use things like applesauce, and there's ways to get around it other than deep frying, which you shouldn't do anyway. So when we stopped oil in my family, I was the one. I made my husband's breakfast, sent him to work with his lunch, and made dinner. I didn't tell him. Now, my husband's a very tall, thin man. And about 7 months after we stopped oil, he had to go to a formal event. He doesn't wear a belt normally. And I remember he was putting his belt on. He goes, "Oh my God, it's too big. I must have cancer." I'm like, calm down. He lost like 9 pounds. Now, he didn't know this because the food didn't taste any different to him. But the point I'm trying to make is if somebody that doesn't need to lose weight, that doesn't want to lose weight, could lose that much weight that easily, just by only stopping oil. Imagine if somebody did that on purpose. But the thing is if you eat at restaurants, people don't know how to cook without oil. The food does not taste good because of the oil. The reason you like oil is the reason you like all high-fat foods, because we're genetically hardwired to prefer the most concentrated source of calories for survival. And the more concentrated the calories, the more dopamine, this neurotransmitter that it's like the pleasure chemical, is released. But if you really loved oil that much, you'd be drinking it, and it tastes disgusting. And if you drank it, you'd vomit because it actually is an emetic. So that's the idea of calorie density, just knowing this relative difference. So 100 calories a pound for vegetables, 4,000 for oil. So for example, a fruit is about 300 calories a pound. But sugar is 1,800 calories a pound. And there's a huge difference because when people say, "Oh, I'm diabetic, I can't have fruit," like, really? Because I know a bunch of diabetics, including type 1 diabetics, that like Robbie Barbero of Mastering Diabetes, who literally only eats fruit. It's different when it's in the package it came in nature, where it's got the water and the fiber. Totally different than the sugar. But look at the caloric density, 300 calories a pound or so for fruit, 1,800 for sugar. And what about whole grains? People think grains aren't healthy. Really? Well, they're only about 500 calories a pound. When you cook oatmeal, it's maybe 300 calories a pound, but you process it into grains to make bread or flours or pastries, and now it's 1,500 calories a pound. And when you process a whole food that you found in nature, you make it calorie rich and nutrient poor, and you disrupt the fiber, and it creates like this addictive like property to it. Like, whereas most people don't have a problem, because they ate millet or because they ate, beets, but you process it into sugar and flour. And now, because they go through the same refining processes, drugs and alcohol, those of us with these sensitive brains, it's like, whoa, they really light up. So really the idea is it's nothing that Jack LaLanne didn't say 80 years ago. If God made it, eat it. If man made it, don't eat it. Whether you think we need animal products or not, nobody needs to be eating processed food that comes in a can, a box, a bottle, or a bag. It may be convenient, affordable, socially acceptable, but it's not food. Food comes from nature. It comes from a plant. Food is not something that is supposed to be manufactured in a plant. And if people would just make that one change, even if they ate animal products, their health would improve. And again, oil is a processed food. Like, people know that sugar isn't good for them, whether they eat it or not, but yet they think oil is this magical elixir. Oil is more than double the caloric density of sugar. It's just, the misinformation out there is astonishing.
It is astonishing. And, you talk about the oil, which is a component that for a person who has diabetes, it coats the cells. Even if their body is producing insulin to help bring their blood sugar down, that oil that you talked about I find that when I work with a lot of my clients, when I tell them to cut the oil down, start at 50%, cut it back, you do see a major improvement in the blood sugars. But the caloric intake of the oil with as far as weight gain is a major component. If as a person is watching and they're trying to figure out, weight loss and trying to figure out this weight loss, is it really important for a person who has diabetes? It's major. It's a major component that can definitely start. If a person's watching and they want to say, where can I start? Like, I'm listening today and I want to make 1 or 2 changes. What information would you have share with a person who wants to start somewhere? They just don't know where.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on how motivated they are and how sick they are. Because a lot of times, the sicker the person, the more willing they are to make more changes more quickly. Look at caloric density and think about what foods you're eating that are very high in caloric density that you can do without. I promise you, food can taste amazing without oil. Not restaurant food, because you're not going to be able to find it, but you don't need it to cook. And right there, you could take out a food that's 4,000 calories a pound and you will consume less calories. And how about adding in some of the calorically dilute but nutritionally dense food like vegetables? Like, how many vegetables are you eating? Like, I eat about 3 to 4 pounds of vegetables a day. Most people aren't getting 3 to 4 servings a day. You can hide vegetables. If you hate vegetables, then eat the vegetable you hate the least, but find ways to sneak them in. Most people eat marinara sauce. You can hide vegetables in there easy. Blended carrots, beets, spinach. Yeah. Nobody will even know. So, eat a salad every day, for example. Start there, but find ways. For a lot of people, if you tell them, well, you can never have whatever again, they're like, oh, don't sign me up then. So instead of thinking about what you have to give up, just start adding more healthy food every day. More fruits and vegetables, at least one salad a day, maybe two, but stop the processed food. It's not food. That's the thing. I don't like that they call it processed food, because it's processed science experiment. It is not food.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The one other thing is, you talked about how ready a person is. I'm really big on that mindset. When I work with a lot of folks they have to realize getting their minds kind of aligned up. Can you talk a little bit about mindset and the role, how mindset can help a person, but also can hurt a person? Let's talk about just helping a person, maybe.
Yeah, I think, okay, so I have a friend, Dr. Rosanne Oliveira, and she talks about the why that makes you cry. And in general, just to be a smaller size so that you can look at it at your high school reunion, it can be a very good short-term motivator, but it's probably not going to carry you much after the reunion is over or the wedding is over. And so people really need to dig deep into themselves and figure out why they want to make these changes. And it needs to be more than just to look good. I mean, that can be very important. But the thing is how do you feel now? Like, if you have excess body weight, if you have diabetes, how do you feel? Unfortunately, a lot of people get used to feeling bad. And until they start feeling better, they didn't realize how bad they felt. Are there people here that you'd like to stick around for? Because we know that when you have excess weight or when you have some of these lifestyle diseases, your life can be significantly shortened. And even if it's not shortened, the years of debility that you're going to spend on medication in the hospital, maybe even in a nursing home, is it worth it to you just for the couple of bites of pleasure that last like 90 seconds? But a lot of times people can find a reason that they want to be healthy for. Maybe they have children that maybe they want to be there to walk their daughter down the aisle. Maybe, and if they have diabetes, I can't tell you how many people I know that have had both legs amputated from diabetes. And when that happens, you're not going to walk your daughter down the aisle, right? Or maybe they have grandchildren that they're expecting and they want to be there to be able to play with them, So you have to find the reason for healthful living. Why do you want to live in a healthful body? You only get one. And so the thing is I kind of think of our bodies like cars in a way. They run very beautifully until we put the wrong fuel into them. And if you put lemonade in a Ferrari, you can't blame the manufacturer because it didn't work. And most of us are not putting anywhere near the right fuel in. But when we start to put the right fuel in, there's a certain point of no return where people have gotten so far into whatever disease that they can't necessarily get 100% functioning back. But I've seen miracles occur with a whole food plant-based diet in terms of diabetes reversal, type 2, not type 1, but even people on type 1 getting their medication lower, and all kinds of things like neuropathy either improving or going away. And so I think ask people, how do they want to feel? Because the thing is when you feel better, you look better. That's just a given, So the mindset can be really important to get you started. It doesn't always carry you. I think what carries people once they get started, because motivation doesn't always stay at the highest level, but habits can. Habits can keep you going.
Oh, that's excellent. And you touched on two things. You touched a little bit on that complication, which was great. The neuropathy, which is the nerve damage that people may feel, the numbness and tingling, fingertips and toes. So by having lesser blood sugars, though a lot of those complications that people would often see can get better, can be reversed, or doesn't accelerate like we may see it happen. Oh my gosh, that was great. The golden nugget. Some people want to say, I want to think about what one golden nugget, if a person was listening and said, wow, you talked about eating and the calorie density and the foods, and I know my mindset and making my big why and change. What golden nuggets would you like to share as we almost wrap up?
Oh my gosh. I think what I want to let people know is that every bite really does matter. It either moves you towards disease or towards health. Food is not neutral. And maybe water is, but even so, if you drink too much water, you could die of water toxicity. Yeah. So what you eat matters. It really does. There's an old saying, genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle and diet pull the trigger. And you can actually change your epigenetics just by changing the food you eat. You can change. It doesn't matter if everybody in your family had this disease and was overweight. That was my family. They're all dead now from cancer, diabetes, heart disease. They were all obese or morbidly obese. But my sister and I, we took a different road. It's like Robert Frost says, 2 roads diverge in the woods. And I took the one less traveled. And that has made all the difference. Unless you are willing to at least give this, I would say at least a month, but at least 21 days. The reason I say 21 days is because there's a holiday called Lent that's 40 days. And I have known people to do extraordinarily difficult things for that religious holiday. They've stopped smoking for that period, or stopped drinking, or stopped eating chocolate, or stopped having sex, or whatever. 21 days is like half Lent plus 1 day, because it takes a while to build habits. It takes longer than that, but it takes a while for your taste buds to change. And if you could just do this for a few weeks, and see if you feel any different. Because, the truth is, I've never seen it not work, but if you didn't, you can always go back to McDonald's tomorrow. But give yourself, and don't wait till everybody waits till January 2nd. No, today, next meal, every bite matters. And that's the thing. It really does. But we are not, doctors are not even taught nutrition in medical school. Food is so important. I mean, other things are important too. You got to move your body. You got to stress less. You got to sleep better. You got to get some sunshine. But the one thing that most of us can control, I mean, unless we're in jail somewhere where, we have to eat what's given to us, we can control what we choose to put in our mouth. And it makes a big difference. Trust me.
Oh, I love it. Definitely starting that first next bite. Well, Chef AJ, thank you for that. They can walk away with some information to just get started now. So Chef AJ, would you like to share for the last minute or more your gift that you have for folks?
Sure. I have a membership group called Feel Fabulous Over 40. The truth is, you don't have to be over 40. You don't have to be female, but you can join it for 2 weeks for free. And if you don't resonate with it, that's okay, because while you're there, you can learn some recipes, watch some great videos. We do a weekly live interaction, and it might be something that will help you on your way towards optimal health.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Chef AJ, for being with me today in the group. And we look forward to hearing you in the future as well. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of health to everyone.
All right.